Good afternoon, Demonisex here. I hope everyone's having a good Monday. It's warm here in Oklahoma. When I went for my walk and run, and I got plenty of sunshine. I hope I didn't get sunburned, but if I did, that's my fucking problem. Anyways, we got Taz behind me. He's sleeping, and well, further this way, there's Steeler, the big old 30-pound cat. Big old babies like a teddy bear. I mentioned that in the previous video. At least I think I did. Anyways, so this video is basically going to be about the Coleco Chameleon. The Coleco Chameleon is no more, as most of you know. I just got a message on Hangout, so I apologize for that pause. It's no more. Coleco went and saw the project, and they didn't like what they saw, so they pulled out. And let's be honest, there was never a working prototype of this thing. The one that they showed off was a Super Nintendo Junior. You know, it had some duct tape, and the cart slot was Super Nintendo. I've seen many of Super Nintendo slots. Because Super Nintendo is one of my favorite all-time systems, much like a lot of retro gamers out there. And I know what the slot looks like kind of like the back of my hand. I know what it looks like. And it was a fucking shit job. And I'm glad Coleco said, okay, this is bullshit. This is not a product that's going to be is worthy of the Coleco name. So we're going to go ahead and pull out. And now it's done. The Facebook page is no more. And the I guess they had a web page as well. That's also gone. So it's no more. Now, I'm a little bothered by it. The whole thing is the way that people were treating it. They're like, oh, it's a retro machine. It's going to sell like shit. It's a piece of shit. We already have something called the Retron 5. The thing about the Coleco Chameleon, like I stated before, the idea behind it was to have a system that emulates your old hardware, but also have new games using that old hardware. And I think that's a great idea. I'd love to see new Super Nintendo games. And like kind of like what they got with the Atari 2600 Atari. If you go to the Atari age, they still make games for the 2600 over there because they're simple. And they don't require that much work. Just put some kind of addictive gimmick and put in a couple sound effects. There you go. Coding for the thing was probably a whole new different beast though, because I've heard it was pretty difficult. Not that I don't know a damn thing about programming, and I just know it's a bunch of lines and a bunch of commands, and it just makes my head hurt just looking at one line of code. So that's why I could never do anything. I would love to do a ROM hack someday, but I doubt I'll ever have that ability because I'm too stupid for it. But I would love to. Now, ColecoVision, ColecoVision. There I go again. That's the third time I've done that today. The Coleco Chameleon. I would have really loved to have seen, if it was given the right leadership, I would have loved to have seen it came to fruition. It may have not sold worth a fuck, and people would just look at it and be like, oh, it's old tech, who cares? But what people don't realize is there's still an audience for older tech. It may not be as broad as it once was, but trust me, there are people that are sick of the games that are made today and how they're made, because it's the same shit. You run around and do something. And of course you do that with old games too, but it's in a more simplistic form and a more addictive form too, if you ask me. Everyone has their own opinion on it. I honestly think that if done right, a retro-based system released in today's world could actually be somewhat successful. It'd be a niche market, whatever. Can't fucking English sucks my ass. It would be a very selective market, let's put it that way. But I think if done right with the marketing, idea, and things of that nature, I think it could actually be a profitable and enjoyable concept, and something that us retro gamers who enjoy the old tech, we could have. It would be wonderful. Like the idea I made with, if I were to make something like this, I would give it online play, kind of bring back the old X-Band kind of thing, have little bulletin boards and shit, or you can make little videos with using a USB camera that's plug and play, something. And you can give one of these or something, just very simple, basic online, and there could also be, like I said, an SD card or some kind of onboard flash memory to help with patching games. some basic shit like that, just in case there was something in the code that they forgot to fix. Because there are some games that are in the retro world that were made and they had bugs. I mean, anyone who's played the 16-bit ports of Mortal Kombat could attest to that. I'm sure most of you out there who've played those. I'm Mortal Kombat and the 16-bit systems weren't the greatest things in the world. I mean, the Genesis version had the blood, but then when Mortal Kombat 2 came, the Super Nintendo blew it out of the water. The Genesis version had better resolution, but still, both had their share of bugs throughout the whole, especially Ultimate Mortal Kombat. Jesus, I don't know what got into me, but during the late mid to late 2000s, I bought both the Genesis and Super Nintendo version because I kind of like the comparative versions. Obviously, the Genesis version feels like it's so low quality that it feels like a pirated game from China. But it would have been cool to see something like the Chameleon come into fruition, though. Like if it was done with the right, not some fucking shyster slash scammer slash idiot, Michael Kennedy, fuck off. If we actually had someone in line to make this thing, or make something similar to it, I think it could have been a profitable thing. Now, to me, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of sad that this thing didn't come into fruition, but at the same time, it's a blessing. Then the reason why I say this is because Mike Kennedy, we all know that guy's a fucking shithole. I mean, I just explained what he is in 3 separate terms. And then you have the idea that what Coleco Chameleon was going to be. I mean, I wasn't like super excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sell some of my shit or go do some, under the table work and get a little bit of money so I can buy this thing when it first comes out. No, I wasn't like that at all. In fact, I was taking a wait and see attitude. I was going to see how it would suffice and see if it was actually a product that proved me as a retro gamer to spend my hard-earned money on. Like the Retron 5 to me, I don't care what anyone says. That thing's a piece of shit. I mean, it's cool that you can hook up your controllers and play games, but the save game feature to me, I mean, I heard it's fixed, but I still don't have very much faith into that. In fact, there's not a lot of clones out there that I have very much faith in. Some of them I heard are very well done. But my problem mostly is the NES emulation. I mean, you got colors that are off and the sound is off. I mean, you can very easily notice it. But it's improving. That Super Trio, I can't remember which one it is. If some of you out there will probably know what I'm talking about. It's one that plays Genesis, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo, and it plays them really well. And they can actually run Castlevania 3, which is, since it has that mapper in it, it is one of the games that are really hard to run. I don't own a clone system, but I was interested in the Chameleon. But all I can say is rest in peace when it comes to that idea. I'm just hoping maybe sometime in the line, I mean, maybe not right now, but maybe someone will pick up on the idea that's similar to that and actually show a working prototype. I knew this thing was actually not going to ever come into fruition because when it was Retro VGS, they never showed any gameplay footage running the hardware or running the software that they claimed it could run. I mean, right there is a red flag as it is. It's a scam. And that's what Mike Kennedy was doing. He was scamming the shit out of people. I mean, come on, who puts a PCI video card in a Jaguar casing claiming that that's their prototype? Are you fucking kidding me? For a system that is supposed to be running different kinds of systems, I'm sure will require a bigger motherboard with more chips than what it was shown on that prototype. A working prototype, they need to show a cartridge within the system, the power turned on, and showing what they're selling to the gamers out there. It just upsets me a little bit that something like this that looked interesting is not going to, come out now. But I'm saying that there is hope for, I mean, I think somebody out there will make something maybe similar to this at one point to cash in, because I mean the retro market right now is once again booming, and with all these different cons and game shows and whatnot, people are still buying retro games. I don't think retro gaming is dying anytime soon. I mean, in a way, it kind of pisses me off that it's as popular as it is, because when it was back in the early 2000s or early 90s, when it was a niche thing, I was able to buy games for dirt cheap. I mean, the late 90s was when I really ramped up my NES and SNES collections, and I did it very fast, and I got games for good prices. And now retro games are like super expensive for all the wrong reasons. That's why I don't mind reproduction cards. I mean, I'm not buying the games for their fucking value. I'm buying the games because I want to play something and have the actual original copy. But if you're wanting $70, guess what, cousin? Suck my dick. I'll just emulate it, and you can get fucked. You can take the money and shove it up your ass. I'll just play it on my Wii emulator. I'll be just as happy. I still need to get EverDries, but they're expensive. Because I don't think I'll be able to collect anymore. But because it's just too expensive, I can't do it anymore. Um, so EverDrives are probably much the next option. We'll see. But rest in peace, Coleco Chamelon. We didn't know ye. A lot of people are glad you're gone. It was a good idea, but the idea just was ran by the wrong people. It could have been something magnificent. It could have been something of greatness if done right and owned by the right people. They burned so many people in so many ways when this thing was being made, and even if it was released, it wouldn't have done well at all. They would just purposely not support it because of the kind of shit and backlash they've gotten from Mike Kennedy and his whopping kick-ass crew. I'm using that term very loosely. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. It was something that I was interested in, and now I'll never get to see what it was going to be. But hopefully something was learned from this, and maybe somebody in the future, maybe sooner or later, will look at the idea through a more believable pair of eyes and see to it that something is made that will both appease retro gamers and modern gamers. And maybe we can see new Super Nintendo style games. I mean, we already got a somewhat of a homebrew scene with the Genesis, Pure Solar and Beggar Prince. And Dreamcast, do I need to say anything about that? I mean, fucking the creator of Volgar, or I think that's how it's pronounced, Volgar, he made a version for the Dreamcast where you can simply download into the ISO and burn onto a disc. I have the ISO on my PC and I played on Null. Or is it Null? Yeah, Null DC. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome scene. I support that stuff, and I sincerely hope we can see something like this in the future to actually come into fruition and be built for us retro gamers to actually get that old feeling of the old tech that we grew up and love and was excited for when new shit was coming out for it. It can happen still. It's still a somewhat popular scene. It's not as popular as some of the mainstream crap, but really, I mean, I want to see how long the mainstream crap is actually going to last from now on, because I know there are people that are just like playing that used to play COD religiously are now putting down the controllers and trying to find something else to play, or they're not even playing their new systems at all and they're going back to their old systems. I mean, I'm just waiting to see when this fucker crashes. I'll actually laugh when it happens too, because this modern day shit sucks. Anyways, so that's pretty much what I have to say. It's probably nothing exciting or nothing you probably haven't heard before. I'm very late on the table when it comes to this news, and for that I apologize. But at the same time, hey, I'm only one dude, and I got responsibilities just like the rest of you. So, Anyways, I hope you guys have a good Monday. I'm thinking about maybe trying to do a couple gaming videos this week because I've done a little thinking. I'll give it a try, but if I get stressed out to the point where I just don't feel like it's worth the fuck, that I won't. But I'll give it a try. I'll give it a fair try, and if it's well liked, we'll see what I can do. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and take good care of yourselves. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this for what it's worth. You guys have a great day.